différente des autres, mais t'es prête à vendre père et mère pour quelques miettes de pouvoir.
Tweeter, c'est comme respirer. Un tweet, une respiration. Un tweet, une respiration.
On va faire péter la République, voilà ce qu'on va faire.
Stop, on arrête là.
Tu sais les risques que je prends pour toi? Comment tu vas t'en sortir cette fois?
Hello and welcome to our weekly cinema show. I'm joined by France 24's film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Alison.
Now, Lisa, you've got a lot of French films on the agenda for us today, most of which touch on life in the Parisian suburbs. Now, the first one stars the inimitable Isabelle Huppert, who just picked up a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Berlin International Film Festival, or rather, she would have picked it up in person were it not for a last-minute COVID diagnosis. Let's take a listen to Isabelle Huppert accepting that award by video.
I cannot imagine a life without cinema, at least my life. There are windows on the world. Cinema makes us feel better, makes us happy. Yeah, thank you.
Now, Lisa, you're going to tell us about Isabelle Huppert's film Les Promesses. It's proving to be quite a word-of-mouth hit.
Deservedly so. This is an involving and entertaining look at contemporary politics in France. It's full of traces of skullduggery, but not artificially pumped up by the need to rile different factions and turn them against each other. It conveys the idea that it is, in fact, possible to enter politics and stay there because you really, truly do want to improve the lives of your constituents. Isabelle Huppert is cleverly cast as Clémence Colombe, the well-liked mayor of a working-class Paris suburb, coming to the end of 2 terms in office, having said she'll step down. But before she retires from public life, she's determined to secure 63 million euros in government grants to overhaul a local housing block where hundreds of residents have to contend with broken elevators, constant water leaks, crowded illegal dormitory conditions under the thumb of slumlords, and other problems. Clémence works around the clock with her smart and devoted assistant, Yazid, who grew up in the neighborhood in question. Reda Kateb could not be better. Out of the blue, Clémence learns that the prime minister is considering her for a ministerial post. Now, should she grab the brass ring and start working for the prime minister instead of le peuple, the people who voted for her?
All right, well, let's take a look at Les Promesses, or Promises.
Donc je suis honnête, mais je mens.
Mais pas du tout. On lance réellement la procédure.
Qu'on s'est perdu d'avance.
Et une promesse non tenue, c'est pas un mensonge.
Ah bah, si on sait dès le départ qu'elle ne pourra pas être tenue, si.
Mais est-ce qu'on sait dès le départ qu'elle pourra pas être tenue?
Bah, bien sûr que oui, on le sait, parce que sinon on aurait lancé la procédure depuis longtemps.
Non, l'étude ne dit pas que c'est ingagnable.
Bah, en gros, si.
En gros. Et ça veut pas dire qu'il n'y a pas une toute petite chance.
Qui serait déraisonnable de courir.
Mais qui existe.
Pas pour moi.
Pas pour toi, mais en soi, elle existe. Bref. C'est pas une fausse promesse, et encore moins un vrai mensonge.
Dans la pratique, le mensonge, ça marche rarement.
Well, Isabelle Huppert is an incredibly prolific actress, and yet we don't get tired of her, do we?
I don't, but then I'm a glutton for excellence. This is a detailed and suspenseful portrait of gambling with hunches, currying favor, trying not to backstab too often, and engineering the best compromises to get things done. It's an intricate script, but it's not hard to follow because the characters ring true. Huppert has appeared in over 120 films, and whether they're good, great, or not good at all, she is almost always good.
I do agree. I'm an Isabelle Huppert fan. All right, Lisa, the next film you're going to tell us about just came out this week. It's an award-winning documentary that explores the incredibly varied lives of the people who live along one of the transit lines that goes through Paris. And it's from the director Alice Diop, who's just had a retrospective of her work at the Pompidou Center.
Alice Diop's father came to France from Senegal in 1966 and built a life for his family in the low-income Paris suburbs, or banlieue. The unifying thread in her subtle and enlightening patchwork of contemporary French lives is, as you mentioned, the regional commuter train line known as RERB. It runs from north to south, slicing through Paris, as well as stopping in a sort of swinging pendulum's range of socioeconomic categories and settings, from soulless concrete to lush woods. Diop participated in the 2 million-person Unity March in January of 2015, intended to show that the nation would not be cowed by the Charlie Hebdo terror attacks. Seeing newspaper headlines declaring that we are one people, Diop, who observed mostly white faces at the massive Solidarity March, wondered, well, who is this we?
Well, let's get a sense of who that we is with a look at the trailer for the film Nous.
Alors, ma, nanya bito iliad. Toro sunto. Mi sembra capabo. Okuri homo ho amuri. Ngaram be kono da jo para do wunya bro.
Now, a half hour in, Diop inserts herself into the story, sharing snippets of vintage high-8 video, which she describes as all that's remaining as traces of her mother and father. To explore this historical imbalance and highlight that people who have immigrated to France and their descendants are as much a part of French history as the nation's kings, buried over centuries in the Basilica of Saint-Denis, Diop sets out to depict the lives of modest people who've been written out of history or just aren't considered interesting enough. Diop, who said she had long been ashamed of wanting to leave her banlieue roots behind, has been inspired to affirm that only when this elusive we of the title is made, everyone's made aware of everybody else, will France fully embrace its astonishingly rich diversity.
Now, the next film is inspired by the real-life downfall of French writer and commentator Mehdi Mekla. He was held up as an example of a young person with immigrant parents who was able to integrate into French society and succeed, but then it was revealed that he had once tweeted anti-Semitic and homophobic comments under a pseudonym. Now, the film based on his story is called Arthur Rambo, and it's from director Laurent Conté. What else can you tell us, Lisa?
Well, we meet Karim D, you see him on the poster, during his triumphant appearance on an important French TV program devoted to literature, discussing his acclaimed book inspired by his mother's struggles in France after leaving Algeria. That's followed by a party at his publishers where representatives of the French media establishment fall all over themselves to compliment him and propose future projects. But that same night, social media explode with the news that Karim D is none other than the internet troll known as Arthur Rambo. That's Rambo, R-A-M-B-O, like Sylvester Stallone's machine gun-toting, muscle-bound character, not Rambo, the visionary young poet. The freshly unearthed tweets are tasteless at best, hateful at worst, supposed humor via an online character he created when he was all of 16 years old. It poses a colossal stumbling block to Karim's newly minted profile as a revered public figure.
All right, well, let's take a look at those pitfalls of social media in Arthur Rambo.
Personne ne porte plainte.
Bah ouais, parce que ça t'arrangerait bien, ça. Tu me préfères dans ma banlieue et t'as trouvé le moyen de m'y ramener, c'est ça?
J'attendais qu'on m'arrête et personne n'a jamais rien fait.
Plus c'était trash et plus on me suivait.
Mais Karim, c'est pas moi qui t'ai appris à penser comme ça.
C'est sûr qu'ils nous préféreront morts. Les écrivains, on les préfère toujours morts.
Now, suddenly, Karim's publisher is furious. That urgent offer to adapt and direct his own book as a movie is being put on hold. His co-workers at a web TV channel kick him out in disgust. How could he have this nauseating alter ego? And how could he fail to be exemplary since the reversal of so many stereotypes about French citizens of North African and African heritage was riding on him? Karim can't believe the magnitude of the fuss. He doesn't grasp that he's already toast.
All right, the topic is certainly very relevant, Lisa, but how does it all work as a film?
Well, it doesn't really, not for me anyway. I was disappointed to the point of irritation. It should be real food for thought, but it comes across as didactic and wearisome. Instead of seeking out Arthur Rambo, I strongly suggest you read Jaron Lanier's 2018 book, 10 Arguments for Deleting Your Social Media Accounts Right Now. Lanier is not some fusty scold, by the way. He's a gifted guy who was instrumental in creating the field of virtual reality, and he makes a strong case for how platforms such as Twitter and Facebook make users far nastier, impatient, tribal.
Sounds like the kind of topic that's better in a book than a movie. All right, this last film, Lisa, is based on a book about a very different real-life scandal that's still ongoing. It centers around accusations that one of France's top cops fighting against the illegal drug trade may actually have been a drug trafficker himself.
Yes. Enquête sur un scandale d'État, or investigation of a state scandal, is complex viewing. The viewer gets buffeted by claims and counterclaims. My French colleagues critics, for the most part, think this is an excellent film, and I'm not actually sure. But it certainly boasts a stunningly good performance by Rajdi Zem as an undercover informant who contacts a journalist to say he can prove that one Jacques Billard, played by Vincent Landon, is reluctant to have customs seize shipments of drugs arriving on French shores because he's involved in selling those very same drugs, illegal drugs, on French territory, which is the opposite of his job description as the top cop for fighting drugs. Everybody, I think, likes stories where the supposed good guys may be bad guys, especially if we're talking about the highest spheres of state power. This tale unfolds on multiple levels at once, and we're put in the same spot as that journalist who works for the left-of-center daily publication Libération, whose real offices were used for the film. There are two carefully worded disclaimers at the start stating that the film was inspired by true events, but is a work of fiction. Now, you can have a juicy true story and excellent actors and still fall short of riveting. Getting to the bottom of complex machinations is hard work, but ideally it wouldn't be quite so hard for us to remain engaged in the proceedings. That said, it is good to be reminded that real investigations in real life can take heroic patience, and that investigative journalists are a crucial component of a functioning society.
Hear, hear. Lisa Nesselson, thank you very much. We'll leave you all with a glimpse of Enquête sur un scandale d'État, investigation of a state scandal. For more arts and culture news, you can always head to our website or connect with us on social media if you still want to after this. There's more news coming up on France 24 right after this.
On n'est ni dans de la corruption, ni dans une bavure personnelle. On est au-delà du scandale. On est vraiment sur une affaire d'État.
Si on sort quelque chose de cet ordre-là, il faut savoir qu'en face, ça va secouer.
Votre informateur a 7 tonnes de drogue dans des camionnettes, même pas fermées à clé, en plein Paris, et vous n'en savez rien.
Quelque chose marche enfin pour lutter contre le trafic. Vous êtes de quel côté?
Je suis ni d'un côté ni de l'autre. C'est-à-dire, je suis ni un flic, ni un voyou, et encore moins un trafiquant.
Tous les SMS que j'avais avec lui viennent de s'effacer sous mes yeux, là. À l'instant.